Welcome to Inside Your Community Schools. This program was developed to answer questions that community members have about things that are going on in District 200 schools. I'm Dr. Jeff Schuler, Superintendent of Schools for District 200.
And I'm Erica Loiacono. I'm Director of Communications for the school district. Today, our topic is expanding learning opportunities, or for short, eLo.
Great. We're joined by two guests for this episode today. I want to introduce and welcome Kip Pigman, who is the Director of the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, and Keegan Castro, who is a teacher at Wheaton North and also a teacher who's taught in the eLo program. So thank you both for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Kip, I'm going to start with a question for you, which is, what is eLo? What is it, and how was it formed? Can you give us a little bit of the background on how this came to be?
Sure. Well, thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Erica, again for hosting eLo today. eLo stands for Expanding Learning Opportunities Consortium, and eLo began back in the fall of 2014 as a partnership between your district and two of our neighboring districts, Indian Prairie 204 and Naperville 203. And the partnership exists in order to provide one another's high school students the opportunity to learn in an online environment, whether during the summer or academic year. But candidly, what eLo is and who eLo is really much more than that. When a lot of high schools begin to offer online learning courses to their students, they do so in one of two ways. One, they choose to outsource it to a for-profit entity. And when they do that, they lose control over the quality of the curriculum being taught and the quality of the teacher who's delivering the instruction. A second common way is they purchase content from a for-profit vendor. And in those circumstances, a lot of times the student progresses through the course just with the content, with minimal interactions between the student and the teacher, and the student and other students. And I'm not saying that those approaches are bad, but the approach that our consortium and the three members wanted to take was to make sure that the online experience our students have matches the rigor that is occurring on campus. And in order for us to achieve that, we needed to use two of our most prized assets: our very own teachers and our very own curriculum. And by leveraging the intellectual capacity that exists across these 7 high schools and 3 districts, we can share resources, we can share talent, we can share expertise, and because of that, we firmly believe that our online courses can provide students not only a good experience, but one of the best online experiences around.
Kip, let's talk from the student experience. You spent some time telling us about how eLo came to be. Why would a student take an eLo or an online course?
Sure. This is a really important question because it speaks to the why of what we're doing. Here's what we know. 1 in 3 college students take at least one online course each year. That's about 7 million students annually. Wow. In addition, we know that when our students enter the workforce, whether it's right after they graduate college or after they graduate high school, they're going to be using technologies every day, and candidly, they might be trained using online platforms to prepare for that role. And so the online experience in high school will certainly prepare them for college and careers. Since we began 4 years ago, we've had over 6,000 online enrollments, and the reasons for those enrollments are vast. Whether it's a shy student who believes that learning in a more intimate setting might better accommodate their needs, whether it's a student who needs the flexibility, perhaps they're working at a part-time job or an athlete, a student who prefers more autonomy, more control over when or where they learn, or somebody that just wants to try something different. The reasons are endless, and it speaks to the distinct advantages that online learning affords students because it allows them to, empowers them to choose the learning environment that best fits them during a specific moment of time. But for me personally, my favorite reason for students to enroll is what I call soft skills. Whether a student likes it or not, when they take an online course, they're going to be forced to learn how to manage their time, how to develop grit and resilience, how to organize themselves, how to set a deadline and work backwards, how to problem solve, self-advocate, how to use technology in responsible ways. And for our young students, these young adolescents, to cultivate those skills at age 15, 16, and 17 is simply a win-win for everyone.
So Keegan, you've taught some eLo classes. What was that experience like for you as a teacher?
Well, I taught U.S. history first and second semester in the summer. And so that was an entirely different experience because the summer is very quick-paced. The kids have to work about 5 hours a day. The grading is very heavy-duty. But I think our students are getting the exact same quality of education that they would be getting in the classroom. So in the summer school program, they are moving quickly. We have high expectations. The content is similar to what we would teach in the summer or in the traditional classroom. But also I've taught psychology for 2 semesters, 2 school years. And our students are doing a great job in that area. They're getting similar content to the classroom, and in many cases we can differentiate easier than we would be in the classroom because all of the planning is up front. And so then the teacher gets to tweak things as we move forward, and the students get more of a student-centered approach. They learn all of the skills that Kip just explained. Plus we can provide supplemental lessons for our students so that they can take certain information and take it to another level. Whereas in the classroom, sometimes we can't always provide all of those opportunities for our kids.
So if you were talking to a student who was considering should or shouldn't I take an eLo course, what would you say to that student?
Well, my typical answer would be yes, you should. It is always worth a shot to try anything new. And you're in high school, you're in a safe setting, so why not take a risk while you are in a place where we can support you and help guide you through all of the activities that are in play. So as they move forward into college, if 1 in 3 kids is taking an online course, then it's best for our students to get this under their belt and have the support needed so that as they move forward, they feel confident in their choices.
Sometimes when I'm talking to parents, what I hear from them, kind of the natural fear, is that in an online environment, there's not going to be that relationship with the teacher, right? That you have in a face-to-face environment. Can you talk just a little bit about kind of your experience with that? Because I've actually heard in talking to some other teachers that if anything, the relationship may be even stronger in the online environment.
And I would agree that the relationship built is fairly strong. The students do discuss with each other. There is collaboration, but that connection between teacher and student, the students get more of a personal experience with the teacher than you might have in the classroom of 30 students. So an example of that could be videos that the teacher creates. So for instance, Memorandum Mondays, where the teacher provides a personal video walking the students through what is expected of them as they move through. The kids see that as she's talking directly to me, and then they can provide comments based on those videos, and the teacher can respond to the comments. But that relationship is very strongly built because the teacher has to communicate with every student individually. Whereas in the classroom, you might have a student who slides to the back, they remain shy, and in the online environment, those shy students actually stand out and they start to self-advocate.
And, Kip, you addressed a little bit of this earlier, but I just want to come back to one other question. So, I kind of in the preparation for post-secondary, I do think an experience in an online or a blended learning environment is positive for kids. You've talked to a lot of kids that have kind of explored why am I doing this? How does this fit for me? Can you just highlight some of the kind of the biggest reasons that students give on kind of why their entrance into an online course?
Sure. It's kind of two separate responses based on when a student takes the online course during the summer or during the academic year. About 97% of our students that take a course online during the summer do so for one primary reason, to free up more scheduling space to take other courses that they might be passionate about during the school year. The second common reason why students take an online course over the summer is because they need that flexibility so that they can continue to still compete in athletics or attend a camp or go on vacation with their family while extending their learning. In terms of the academic year, it's a vast array of different reasons, and that's what's most rewarding for me is because there's not one profile of an online student. Anybody can take an online course, even if you don't have that experience. As Ms. Castro said earlier, our teachers have a very strong presence in these classes, and these students are not learning in isolation. The teacher is there and other classmates are there, and they're there to support the student, including if it's their first time taking a class.
Great. Keegan and Kip, thanks for joining us. We're gonna take a short break here on Inside Your Community Schools, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by a student from Wheaton North and a student from Wheaton Warrenville South to talk a little bit about their experience in eLo. Welcome back to this edition of Inside Your Community Schools. We've been talking today about eLo, or our Expanded Learning Opportunities program, and we're pleased now to be joined by two students that have been participants in eLo. So I'm going to welcome Jay and Luke into the conversation. You guys have each taken a course or several courses for eLo, and so we just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the experience. So, Luke, I'm going to start with you. I think you've taken a health course through eLo. Can you talk to us a little bit about what made you decide to take eLo, and talk to us a little bit about that experience?
So I decided to take it because I wanted to free up my schedule senior year for another elective, still deciding between choir and AP Psych. And since you have to be in some type of PE course every semester, I just took health so that I could take speech in place of my gym period. So that filled my schedule sophomore year, and now next year I can make a choice.
Okay, great. And so talk a little bit about the experience. How was the eLo course?
It was really simple. I feel like that's the biggest word. And my teacher, I was a little nervous about not having a teacher there, but she responded super fast to all my emails and things like that. And she made sure she sent notifications out every week to tell us what to do. So yeah, it was a great experience for taking an online class.
And so, Jay, you've taken 4 eLo classes, I think, across both of our 2 high schools. You've taken the most number of eLo courses, and you're a sophomore at South. Why have you decided to take so many courses through the eLo program?
Well, you can work on it at your own pace, and it can free up time later, and it can free up your schedule. Like now, I can take a study hall.
Okay. And so if you were talking to another student at Wheaton Warrenville South High School who was considering whether or not they want to take an eLo course, what would you say to them to encourage them to take a class?
Well, I would say that it could free up your time later, and I would say you probably want to work ahead, and if you get ahead, that can free up your time.
So when you say you work ahead, was that something that you learned during your experience? And how did you learn that, and why was it important for you to work ahead?
Well, that's what I would do, because if you're ahead, then you can just focus on other classes and it's less stressful.
Great.
It gives you a different opportunity for how you can manage your time and responsibilities. We're going to ask you a similar question. So you mentioned a little bit of the why you took eLo, but what would you tell other students that are thinking about the experience?
Probably the same thing Jay said. It's really important to make sure you're on top of it and checking the Canvas app, which is where all your assignments come through. And yeah, working ahead. And my teacher was really good about warning us to work ahead on projects and things like that, so you'd be done on time.
Okay. So there are probably a lot of different reasons why students might take eLo, again, whether it's to free up a space for another class in the schedule, or some just like the kind of pacing and structure of eLo. I guess in general, do you think an online experience is a good experience for all students to have at some point in their high school experience, and I guess why?
Yeah, I do. I think it is, because it's a lot different from just going to class, and it can help you later just being able to use the technology.
Luke, how about you? What do you think about that?
I also think it's great. It works on your accountability and getting things done, and I think everyone should also do it because working with technology. So it's a great experience.
Well, and I also think it's given you an experience to learn about different teaching styles, right? And so the course that you took in health, you did not have, the teacher of that course was from another district.
Right.
Jay, I think right before we started filming today, you got to meet for the first time one of your online teachers, Miss Castro, who interviewed before. So what has that experience been like? Do you feel like you've really gotten to know your teacher or built a relationship with them, and you maybe even haven't even met them until like today after the course was over? What was that experience like, building a relationship with your teacher?
It was really simple. At the very beginning, she introduced herself, told us about her life, and she had us do a PowerPoint or read a PowerPoint that she made about her, and then she had us introduce ourselves to all our classmates through a kind of a presentation app. So yeah, I got to know my teacher really easily.
And how about you, Jay? So what was that like, building a relationship with your teacher that you hadn't even met?
Well, yeah, we did the same thing. We would introduce ourselves at the beginning.
As you've taken classes through eLo, do you feel like the relationship that you have with the teacher, the way you've gotten to know the teacher, is it the same as it is in your face-to-face classes in the high school?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes we'll do presentations on ourselves and the teacher will do the same. And you can record videos of yourself as well.
Luke, what do you think about that?
Yeah, we did record a lot of videos of ourselves presenting things. Of course, it's not going to be exactly the same as having a teacher because talking to a teacher every day face-to-face, but my teacher, like I said, was really responsive, and she seemed really nice and funny when I would email her, ask her questions. So.
Very good.
Great. So I'm going to give the two of you kind of the last word here before we close out this session. So again, to incoming freshmen next year, we're going to have a new group of students start 9th grade at Wheaton North, Wheaton Warrenville South. What would you advise them around thinking about building eLo into their 4-year plan?
I think that would definitely be a good idea to free up your time later, because later in high school you might want to take another elective or a study hall. So it's definitely good to work ahead and take an online class.
I would say definitely try it, and it is great for freeing up your schedule.
Great. Well, Jay and Luke, thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us today. That's it for this edition of Inside Your Community Schools. This program was designed to answer key questions that community members have about the things that are happening in District 200 schools. If you've got a suggestion for a question or a topic that we could address on a future edition of this show, please email us at communications@CUSD200.org. I look forward to seeing you inside of one of our community schools.